Alrighty fam, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking all things team building for NIDHOGGR, right? So I was going to do this all in one video and I might still do it, but I wanted to break down each of the teams individually, when you want to use them, how you want to use them and why you want to use them, before I actually do the kind of ultimate NIDHOGGR guide that I'm going to do. Right, so I will go through and I'll explain all the different mechanics to all the different floors. Look out for that in a coming video. But this one is basically like, I'm at the point now where I can have 5 relics, I've got 4. I can kind of consistently clear it every week. I've tried a few different teams on what works for me and what doesn't, and I'll explain why as we go through. But basically, in short, let's jump into it and we'll start building a team, right? So first things first, the first one I want to start with, if you're even looking at this for the first time, right, you're going, you know what, I can do bird, deer, dogs. The thing you got to remember is bird and deer I'd kind of put on the same kind of level. Dogs is harder, and then NIDHOGGR is harder again by like quite a lot, right? So I would highly recommend basically just trying out these different teams and seeing what you can get away with. So the farming floor 1 team is basically what's called the King Patience team, right? So it involves Trader Melly, it involves Chad King, if I can type. Where is he? There he is. It involves Chad King. It involves Valenti. It's Valenti. And then it also involves Brawler Barn, right? So the whole goal of this team, it doesn't really matter, like Tamiel link you can put on whoever, right? You can fill in these links with whoever. I probably would recommend maybe Mael link on King, just for an increased shield, but it doesn't really matter too much. These links aren't as important. I probably will put Tamiel link on Valenti, and then just a high CC on Barn. But for this team, it doesn't really matter what links you have, just as long as King does enough damage. The whole purpose of this team is to permanently have a King shield up so that you don't take damage from the combined use of Barn's passive, where it decreases all their attack, and then Valenti's passive, which decreases their pierce rate, which means they don't do as much damage. Now, gearing wise for these guys, you're going to want to have attack crit on King. I'd have attack crit on Melee as well. You'd have triple defense on Barn and triple defense on Valenti. The whole idea is you don't want Barn taking damage, right? So these triple defenses in the middle, you'd also want resistance rolls. Same thing with Valenti. So I don't use this team anymore, so I don't have it, but you would have basically the same gear on Valenti. And then if you do have it, you'd run Tamiel link with the same gear again, right? You'd have defense, triple defense again. This way, what it'll do is this will then give you a team that will basically King shield, and then you can use single targets to get Trader Melly's passive going, right, to increase the damage reduction. And you get to a point where he barely hits anything, and you can kind of creep your way through the fight and get to the end. In terms of card sets, this is not the card set you want. I would recommend using where is it? Not that one. This one, the deer card set. This will increase your basic stats by 10% as well. You don't really care about the freeze, but it increases your basic stats, which is the main thing, right? If you don't have that card set, I would honestly probably just recommend max combat cards. This one is a little bit less important in terms of what card set you run, but the whole idea again is to have a King shield basically every turn, proc Melly's passive, and then you can slowly basically work your way through. On that first floor, if he ults you and does too much damage, what I'd recommend is pushing Barn ult early on, because then you can use Barn ult to take away his ult gauge, and you should be able to get through that first floor okay, or the first phase of that, right? So again, you want to get to a point where his attack is really, really low, and then you can basically just work your way through that first floor. There's not really too many gimmicks or anything like that. You basically just need to make sure you keep the King shield up and don't die, right? So that's basically the team that you'd want to run for farming these floors. Now, if you guys do want to see, this is just a team building guide video, but if you guys do want to see each of these individual teams in action, let me know down in the comments and I'll make sure I'll do videos on each of them for you, right? So that's the first team. Now, the main team you pretty much always want to run is some form of goddesses, right? Now, I'll build this up slowly so you guys understand where I'm kind of coming from and what I recommend. Now, the first things first is Mael is going to be pretty key in this. You don't really want to not have Mael. If you don't have Mael, then you probably want to run Tamiel on the front to increase basic stats. But you do really need a damage dealer, right? So if you're going to run this goddess team, Now, this is all a bit of a preface in terms of not having LR Liz, right? So let's say you don't have LR Liz and you're building a goddess team. You want Mael. Mael's a good damage dealer. Now, your second damage dealer that you want is going to be Freya, only if you have a Holy Relic. If you don't have a Holy Relic, then you don't want to use it. You want to make sure you build a goddess team if you can, right? So in the goddess team, for the rest of it, you would want one of the two Margarets. Obviously, Summer Margaret is always preferred, right? But if you don't have Summer Margaret, then you can use normal Margaret. The other unit you want is Green Liz, right? And then, you know what, let's start putting these in, actually. So let's green unit. Let's say you don't have red Margaret, Summer Margaret. And then the final one you want is blue Elat. Now, this team you are going to slightly struggle with just because your damage is not very high because you've only got Mael as a damage dealer, right? So you're going to basically have to rely on him to dish out the damage. What you want to have here again is you want to run Liz on HP defense, right? And then you want to run, so I've actually used Elat's gear here. You've got resistance rolls again in the middle, and you want to move that triple defense to Elat. So the boss will always target the person that has the lowest HP, right? So at the moment it's Liz, but once I can, if I shifted stuff around, that would change because I specifically have the lowest HP on her because I use that for a different team where she gets targeted, right? So you want to have Elat as your lowest thing. You want to give her Tamil Link, again with triple defense rolls, right? And then Margaret and Liz can have whatever, preferably obviously with Liz, if you have him built, you can run the Princess and the King link. With this one, it doesn't really matter too much, whatever link you have that's high value. And then this one, again, just a high attack link because Mael already has his own grace, so Sariel's grace won't affect him, right? So basically, again, the idea behind this is Mael's your powerhouse. Liz keeps your team alive and refuels your ult gauge. You do have Margaret for the increase in every time you do a buff, right? Where is it? There you go. You increase your basic stats, right? And then every time you buff as well. There are variations to this team, right? So where you can run maybe Elat, and then instead of Elat, you could run Tamil Link. Sorry, not Tamil Link, Tamil, right? And then again, give him triple defense, make sure he's the lowest HP, and then every time he recovers it. Where is it? He increases Oilai's basic stats, right, up to 30%, right? So the idea here is this will just help you build up basic stats. Now, I've used this team, or a variation of this team, so rather than Margaret, I used Freya because I got her ult just by farming like floor 1 for a few weeks and buying it in the World Tree Tower. So this is the team I used. I put Red Sariel Link on her, right? So this is where Red Sariel Link went. This is Tamil Link, and then the other two just got whatever links they wanted. This was the team I used to pretty consistently get clear floor 2. Right, this will get you there. Elat is here for her take off ultimate gauge, which is really nice. Her cleanse, and also this that one. Removes all debuffs and the debuff immunity. That's really strong in this fight. And then obviously Liz is here for the heal, like I said. Then you have 2 damage dealers in these two, and you basically just want to bully your way through it. Again, I'm not explaining all the different mechanics and stuff in this. This is just a team building, but this will show you 2 damage dealers, your healer, and then your support unit, right? Now again, variations of this. If you have Summer Margaret, you can swap out Summer Margaret for Blue Elat because she cleanses the debuffs. Same thing as Elat, but she'll also give you some heals as well due to her passive, right? So this is pretty much, like I said, this is the team that I actually run for NIDHOGGR. I have Tamil Link on my Liz, and I have a random link on these two, right? I'll change them later, but you put a random link, whatever, some high festival unit CC with. You've got a high duped LR unit like Meliodas will work. The one ultimate, anything like that will do the job. But again, I've got my healer, I've got my support unit. She also has a stance cancel on level 1, which is really nice. Same thing with obviously Freya once she has a Holy Relic, and then I use Mael as well. Right, so this is the team that I run, and it gets me through floor 3. Again, support unit, healer unit, and helps pushing ult. Then 2 damage dealers. Now, if you have LR Liz, mine's only at level 90. If you have this girl LR, you can LR her. She is an absolute support god. Like this team with the other two, with Summer Margaret and these guys will just carry you through this. Like there's no need. Like once you have LR Liz, you can then start mucking around. You can change this to Red Tamil and Red Sariel if you want to. Like, having LR is just going to give you so much more, like, benefits from it. It increases your recovery rate, all your basic stats. She removes buffs, right? The whole thing. So that's going to be super, super strong. So again, healer, support unit, 2 damage dealers. Once you have this team, you are pretty much good to go. Like I said, if you don't have Summer Margaret, you can swap it out for the other Margaret if you want to. There are a few pieces in here interchangeable, right? Now, if you do have a full goddess team, whether it's Freya with her relic, because she is an unknown, but once she gets her relic, she does become a goddess, right? You want to run the attack-related stats card set. Now, you want to fully max out all of these. Unfortunately, that Mael card does cost 10k in PvP coins, which is ridiculous for an R. But anyway, this is the dog set, right? Increases attack-related stats by 15% when all allies are of the same race, right? So goddess, 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 goddess. So you're good to go. So this is a team. The goddess has the most like interchangeable pieces in the team, but like that's what you build it around. So Mael and Freya is kind of ideally what you build it around. Then you have LR Liz and Summer Margaret. This is like the pinnacle of the team you can run pretty much. Or again, having LR Liz will give you the ability to run other goddess units as well if you choose to. That's the goddesses. Now let's get rid of all of this. And the other thing you can run is actually the Ragnarok team. Now, this has a few caveats to it, right? So your Ragnarok team would look something like Freya. It would look Freya. It would be Tyr. And then it would be Red Magelda, right? Now, this is pretty much the team you need to run. You could maybe swap out... I don't know, there's not really... I mean, maybe you could use Skadi here instead, but this is kind of the team you want to run. You want to have the brother and sister Tyr just because he's so strong, and then Red Magelda. Now, the reason I don't love this team is because Red Magelda has a cleanse, which is great. That's the only way to heal. And if you get stuffed with that cleanse cards, you're in a lot of trouble. That's why I like the goddess team better, because you have more heal cards as well. Now, there are a few things that are probably interchangeable. Maybe you want to swap out one of these for... you know, you could run Brunhild with the healing ult, but I haven't really seen that, and I don't really recommend it just because it's not as strong. The whole idea behind this team is just brute force as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, again, caveat, you do need Freya's Holy Relic, right? Without Freya's Holy Relic, this team is pretty much irrelevant, and this Holy Relic only comes from NIDHOGGR, right? So that's why I'm not the biggest fan of this team, because it's not super strong. It does also require you to have potentially different gearing for your units that you probably already have. I did completely forget to run through all the gearing for the goddesses, so that's my bad. So Freya, I always have attack crit on. Mael, I do have attack crit on. Liz is HP defense, unless she's supposed to be the lowest HP, which I think I explained. And then she has triple defense with resistance rolls in the middle. And Margaret is just HP defense as well. Now, in this scenario, you want your Magelda to be the lowest HP. So again, triple defense with resistance rolls. I have attack crit on my Tyr, on my Freya, and on my Freya. With this team, it's not probably the best. HP crit will probably do the job on Tyr, maybe attack defense on Freya. I like attack crit on Freya, sorry. I always get them confused. I can't remember what I'm talking about. So I always like attack crit on this guy. Attack defense maybe on her. HP crit on him. And you want... Excuse me, and you want Tamil Link on Magelda. Now again, the whole idea behind this is Magelda cleanses the debuffs, will then increase your HP by 20%, or sorry, increase your HP related stats, and increase your ultimate gauge as well, right? And if you remove your debuff, you have 20% of their max HP. So this will help you cycle through ultimates and get a bit of lifesteal going, especially if you have both the brother and sister's relic as well. But this is also... you know, this doesn't affect, right? So it's if allies on the battlefields of goddesses, each goddess ally increases the hero's attack related stats by 10%. So it's, and then, sorry, let me read the start. Yeah, so hero single targets have stance cancel effect, increases all stats of allies by 4% every time the hero inflicts damage using skills up to 5 times. So you get a 20% all stats increase. So you want to use Freya's cards as quickly as possible, especially in this team, because then you get some lifesteal going on between all of them. But again, I don't love this team, just because you're really just relying on Magelda to keep you alive, basically, right? So, again, Tamil Link on Magelda, and then that's the rest of them. So those are kind of at least the majority of the teams that people have been running on this. There might you see a few other ones that you could potentially do, but you've basically got the Ragnarok team, you've got the Goddess team, which is the main one, and then you've also got that King Patience team, which is for the first floor farming, right? So I'll be dropping another video probably in a couple of days where I'll do like my full NIDHOGGR run, and I'll actually show you guys what team I use, all the links, all the gears, what card set, and just quickly with this team, because obviously unknown. Actually, we should be alright to run this card set as well, and my mouse has just died. So I'm gonna have to quickly plug that in. So I'm gonna pause. Alright, my mouse is back, and so am I, which is good. So you can actually probably run the attack related stats because they're all the same race, right? So, where am I going? Unknown, 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 unknown. However, with this team, I also do like to run the basic stat increase, wherever it is, here it is. Just because I find, like, I don't use this team because I find that my Magelda dies. Like, on the first floor, she just can't tank any damage. Even though, I mean, I haven't invested in the gear, right, which is probably why. But, like, I just don't find her tanky at all. And this team is just such a glass cannon. Whereas I've invested a lot in the Goddess team to build it up. So that's probably just me. But yeah, that's probably the card set you could run as attack-related stats, or you could run the basic stats one. So I think we'll leave the video there because that was a long enough video as it is explaining the different teams. But I hope that helped, guys, and I hope it helps you build your own NIDHOGGR team. Like I said, I will be bringing out a guide where I use my favorite NIDHOGGR team, and I'll run through all the different mechanics and all the different phases and floors and all that kind of stuff, because there's so much to remember with this boss. But yeah, hope you guys appreciate that, and as always, I will catch you all in the next one. Thanks heaps.